You know, Larry, this whole mullet thing's kind of starting to fade away. What do you think you're doing next?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe like gravel bike world or hybrid world, something like that.
Yeah.
Shed's getting a bit old. Be riding mountain bikes anyway, ain't he?
You got that right, brother.
Hey Larry, you got a customer out here.
Yeah, whatever. All right. Don't look at my cards.
Hey, Steve, he's got some good cards here.
Go fish.
Hey, welcome back to the shed. Today we're going to be working on Tracy's hybrid bike. So what is a hybrid? A hybrid is basically a road bike and a gravel bike kind of blended together. But why are we even messing around with this kind of stuff? We ride mountain bikes, right? Well, near us is what they call the Union Trail. It's basically a rails to trail type trail. If you're not familiar with that, it's basically old railroad beds that they converted to walking and bicycle paths. And some of it's paved, some of it's gravel, some of it's dirt, hard packed dirt. And we have one near us that's somewhere between 18 miles and 24-mile round trip that we've been really wanting to do the entire length there and back. All right, so being that we mostly ride mountain bikes, there's a few things Tracy did not like about this bike. So we're going to throw a little bit of mountain bike into the hybrid mix. Now the main thing she didn't like was the 3x8 gearing it had, and she didn't like the handlebars being so narrow. So we're going to get into all this, but first I want to show you what my bike is for the rails to trails. So this is my bike. This is what I call my Berserker Huffy, thanks to Berserker Nick sending me some stickers. But this is basically a 1994 Jamesway bike. And you're all probably too young to remember what Jamesway was, but think of like a Kmart kind of thing back in the 90s. Now, when we first got married, Tracy went out and bought this bike, so it's probably going to be around forever at this point. But I put a Suntour coil spring fork on it, did the Bucklos 1x cranks, bunch of other stuff, some luggage. The craziest thing I did, though, was a through axle wheel. Why did I do a through axle wheel on a $100 40-year-old bike? Well, I had the wheel, and I wanted to be able to use my Alkalite, microshift Alkalite derailleur with my HP cassette. So basically, that's the story of this thing. And it's actually a fairly comfortable bike to ride. I could put down a lot of miles on this thing. So let's get back to Tracy's bike. I'm going to show you what we're going to do. All right, so let me start out by telling you a little bit about this bike. We actually got this bike off Marketplace for $50, which was a killer deal. The bike was in great shape. What's really nice about it, makes it different from a road bike, or even a gravel bike, it has about 60 millimeter of travel on the fork, which is nice. Just a little bit of suspension. It actually had a cassette wheel already, so we didn't have to change the wheel to be able to do anything with the driveline. So what you can probably see already, I already made it a 1x11 because that's what Tracy had on her other bike, and that's really what she wanted to maintain. But if you notice, I'm using a new Shimano Q's derailleur, which is their newer low-cost setup. It's what they call a link glide setup. So the cassette, the chain, the derailleur, and the shifter are all kind of matched to this link glide system, they call it. It's an 11 to 45 cassette. And so it should be a pretty good ratio. Got a 34 oval on the front. The crank is actually a JG Bike crank I had laying around with a new bottom bracket. But here's the thing. This is what we're working on today, because this is what's a little bit different. If you notice this handlebar setup, this stem setup, this is kind of like the old style, right? So you have a threaded fork, but it's not a 1-inch steerer tube. It's actually a 1 1/8 steerer tube, just like a lot of mountain bikes, but it's threaded. So it uses this quill type steering stem. So Tracy wanted wider bars. She wanted a regular mountain bike cockpit setup. She wanted wider bars, regular grips. She don't want the twist grips. And the problem is this is a 25.4 clamp. I couldn't just put wider bars on here. Now there are some 25.4 bars available. I found some wider ones, but without the rise. I needed enough rise. So what we're going to do is we're going to change this over to something more familiar. We're going to use a regular mountain bike style stem, and we're using this quill adapter that goes, you take this out and it goes into there. Now the thing is, there's two different sizes of these, and they're not much difference. They're only a couple millimeter difference. I think this one is 25.4, and the other one is 1/8 of an inch smaller. So I'm going to say something. Maybe if you don't have a way to accurately measure it, it might not be a bad idea to just take it to a bike shop, let them measure it, and let them order the parts. I mean, it's always good to work with a local bike shop, because then if you run into any problems, they'll help you out. And parts like these are not that expensive. You'd be surprised how close the prices are to ordering it online or getting it at a bike shop. So it might be worth it. If you don't have all the tools, you don't have a good way to measure it, that might be a way to go. I wonder if I can get this all apart without... Oh, that came apart. I wonder, might not be a bad idea just to keep a reference. It's 3 inch to the center of where it kicks forward. All right, now this adapter has minimum insertion depth. So I'm going to give myself a mark just to make sure I'm in. Just going to put a little grease on it. Put that in around there somewhere. We may adjust it once she rides the bike. We'll tighten it up for now, though. The new stem. Put her new stem on there. I'm going to take these screws out and put just a little dab of grease on them. I've had problems with these screws stripping out before. Are 90 millimeter rise. They were 780 wide. I cut them to 720. Which is actually a tad wider than her mountain bike bars, but she wanted to try them really wide, so that's what we're going to do. You know, part of the thing, everything's pretty high, but I mean, that's the idea, so the bike's comfortable. And now we need the shifter. And the rear brake. Got some nice new locking grips. This has sort of a delayed shift, but it shifts really smooth. All right, there we are all together. Of course, every 5-minute project turns into an hour, but it looks pretty good. Mountain bike style bars. Nah, I guess the only thing left is try in the backyard.
Yeah, the ride's good.
Does it? You like the wider bars better? They look a good height for you. You look comfortable on it, kind of. So here we are at the start of our epic ride up the entire length of the Union Trail near us. And I'm not going to record the whole thing, obviously. It'd be pretty boring, but I'll give you some highlights as we go. We'll see how far we make it.
We're going to the end.
Even if I'm 7, you got 5 more years. It's only like in the middle. Yeah, why? How you like the grips? I didn't know if you would. They were kind of cheap ones. They were
We made it to Herbert Road. We're almost there. What a beautiful day. We're at 9 miles, 9.28 miles.
So we made it to the end of the trail. The mile marker said 9, but it's not taking into account they extended it the other way. So where you saw the other barrier was about another mile or so the wrong way. So we're at 10.7 miles on Tracy's fancy wristwatch. So we got about 10 miles back. So about 20 miles. I know if you're a roadie, you're laughing at us, but for us, that's pretty good ride. So we're going to head back toward the car. So we made it. It was 20.4 miles. We did it around 3 hours, which is definitely not flying, but it was good for us. And I guess the thing you want to hear about is how did the drivetrain work out? The drivetrain worked out great. Thing shifts nice. The cues shift derailleur. Some of the videos I've seen said that it shifted slow, but I really didn't notice that. It seemed to shift pretty good to me. So all in all, she liked her handlebars. Everything seemed to work out. And yeah, so that's it for this episode of The Shed. Catch you next time. I'll add to all the 3x kit drivetrains I have out in the shed that I'll never use. Maybe one day I'll send them all to Yard Sale Cycles. He likes all that old stuff.